This is a Boardroom Network production.
Well, it's a special afternoon in the boardroom today with a very special guy on the second episode of Millennial Movement for 2019, episode 11 overall, season 3. We welcome Sean Bell, one of the great men and young leaders in the community within Melbourne, within Australia, and some of the things that he's done, just chatting off air a little bit before, was quite astonishing, quite amazing, and we're going to really get into it. We're going to really unpack it and understand what this young man has been doing in the community, and from a personal sort of, I guess, way of going about it as well, and something that has struck him, and he's been doing some great things, not only for himself and for a mate of many years, but the society that we live in Australia right now and in Melbourne. So without further ado, Sean Bell, welcome to the boardroom, mate.
Thanks, Tom. It's good to be here.
And it's great to sit down with you one-on-one, actually, and chat about the Jog for Joey. So I'm not going to talk too much, but I'd like to get to know a bit more about this 50 marathons in 50 days that you started off to do and completed, and then the things that, and that's amazing, 50 marathons in 50 days. I mean, I'm not sure how many people are doing that. And how old are you?
21.
21 years of age. So there's a lot of things I'd like to talk about, but let's start off by the personal story of Jog for Joey. As I said before, something that's personally really touched you, and I guess ignited this real passion for running and for fitness and for doing this for a friend, and the compassion that you have, and all of that surrounding, and all the support that you've also got in the last few months. Talk to us about the origin of Jog for Joey.
Yeah, so Joey, firstly, I think to talk about Jog for Joey, I have to talk about who Joey was to me. And he joined the Vermont Football Club for the 2016 season. So it's crazy. I actually was only friends with Joey for 9 months. He joined for pre-season November 2015 going into the 2016 season, and then passed away in his sleep at July 30th, 2016. And so he was 18, went to bed and just didn't wake up. And that's just, absolute tragedy, and really affected me and many of my teammates. And from there, just started to lose my passion for playing footy and took up running, and a couple of years down the track, Jog for Joey was formed.
Yeah. Did you do much running before this point in time, or
no,
were you sort of just playing footy and sport sort of as a young guy coming up?
Playing footy was absolutely everything I was about. I played at Vermont from when I was 6 until 19 years old. Joey passed 2016, as I said, and then at the end of 2016, after his passing, I felt that I was in a pretty, unsure period of my own life. I was struggling in many ways, and just a little bit unsure of where I was heading. And then 2017, I went back to playing footy because it was all I knew, and I was lucky enough to be the captain of an undefeated premiership side in 2017 in the under-19s again. But even then, despite our success, I wasn't enjoying my footy, and I knew that was on the back of losing Joey. And so I decided that I would give the Melbourne Marathon a crack just 3 weeks after our premiership.
And so did it rock the whole football club at the time? Was it something that everyone was just totally shocked with? Yeah,
definitely. I think, as I said, he was 18, went to bed and didn't wake up. So his death is still forever unexplained.
Okay. Wow. We don't want to harp on that too much, obviously, but it's not. We couldn't imagine how you yourself and the football club would have been sort of feeling, and what you would have been going through. But something that's I guess we'd all love to do in a way, if unexpectedly and I guess tragically, if something ever happened to a mate of ours. Something that you've done has been quite amazing. As you said, you entered in the Melbourne Marathon, and was that your first marathon? Is that where it started?
My first ever marathon was October 2017, and so now we're not even 2 years later, and have been able to embark on this big running journey for Joey. But it all started then. I went into that marathon with just 3 weeks of training after winning the premiership. So underdone. I didn't know what I was in for. I'd only ever run 15 kilometres in the one hit and then went straight into 42.
So did you do any training for this marathon?
Other than footy, 3 weeks because I was playing footy up until then. So I was just training for footy.
Yeah.
Had to, I guess, lead the boys and get through each week.
Yeah.
So it was running the marathon was in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And then, just went into the Melbourne Marathon in October, very underdone, but just got outside my comfort zone and took that risk. And I didn't know it at the time, but it became that new direction for my life.
Yeah. So it just, I guess, I'm amazed, I guess. You must have, I guess everyone felt very strongly about Joey and what happened, but you seem to go to those next lengths and really wanting to really shine a light on, trying to do something, for Joey and for the tragedy of losing him. Did you sort of, how did it make you feel, I guess, starting on this sort of journey and wondering, was it something that you felt like you had to do straight away, or is it something, talk to me about how that sort of manifested itself? Yeah,
no, definitely. It wasn't something that just came out straight away. Back to earlier before when I was saying I didn't feel like I knew where I was at the end of 2016. And so early 2017, my mum recognised that. She took me to America to see a man named Tony Robbins. I don't know if you're familiar with Tony.
Tony Robbins. You know what? I've watched him on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I know he's a very good speaker. He's motivational. He's people probably think he's the absolute guru. And, in a lot of ways, he probably is. How did you find Tony Robbins? Because I really liked him when I watched him.
He changed my life, honestly. I went into this Tony Robbins seminar as a kid that I didn't have a lot of confidence.
So you were a little bit. So at this point, you may have been a little bit directionless, a little bit sort of thinking about what's happening here.
Footy was all I knew, but then I'd lost my teammate and I just felt a bit lost with everything I was doing. And so Tony Robbins, he's a massive motivational speaker, life coach, and has helped change many lives all over the world. And he definitely helped change my life because at his seminar, he shared the story of a man named Stu Middleman who ran 85 kilometres a day for 56 days in a row across America.
Wow.
So from San Diego to New York.
Yeah.
And that was on day one of his seminar when he shared that story. And I remember sitting in the audience just shaking my head, was amazed, but was thinking, well, this bloke's a predisposed genetic freak and not everyone can do that. And that was my attitude day one. And then on night one of Tony's seminar, Unleash the Power Within, he has everyone do a walk across the hot coals in bare feet.
Yeah.
So I did a 5-metre fire walk, as he calls it. And that was crazy. Once you walk on the other side of that fire, like for me, I truly felt like a different person. Yeah. And I know that sounds
how does that? So you didn't burn your feet, or
no?
What?
Yeah, I don't know. He just hypes you up into
people
this.
People in their right mind wouldn't do that. And most people would be like, why would I walk on burning hot coals? Exactly,
and that's how I was. But then I saw so many people doing this, and I thought, well, I'm here. I might as well give it a crack. And
don't get offended by the way I ask this, but is it a bit of a brainwashing sort of thing? Like if he's sort of enabling people and not forcing people, but if people are able to walk across hot coals, I mean, do we just call the man a genius, or what is he doing? How is he doing this?
You can say it's a brainwash in some ways, because that's what some people say about it. Like it's Tony Robbins' cult, and I've heard all sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, do you think there's a bit of that cult sort
definitely, like that big following of him? But I guess the reason I mention him and what he brought me is like at his seminar, you go very deep into who you are and what you're about, your values and what you're trying to achieve. And as I said, I was really struggling with where I was, and I feel like he really helped me discover my purpose, and that's that I love helping people, but I also love challenging myself.
Yep.
So while I didn't connect the two at the time, that it was something I always thought about. Yeah. And then throughout that 2017 seasons, so Tony Robbins was March 2017, went home from America, played that footy season, wasn't enjoying my footy, ran in the Melbourne Marathon. After that Melbourne Marathon, I was cooked. I was so sore for days, and I didn't enjoy going so quick. I wanted to slow down and go further, and it reminded me of that guy Stu Middleman and his story. And then all of a sudden, I thought, if he's run across America, I wonder if anyone's run across or around Australia. And there was one couple in particular that got my attention. There was a vegan couple in their 60s a few years ago.
Yeah, okay.
They ran 366 marathons in 366 days around Australia.
Yeah.
They'd take almost the whole day to do them, walk a lot, like they'd stop.
So you did 50 and 50.
Yeah,
and these guys have done 366 and 366.
So
maybe that's probably your next calling.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so they just stopped, and I guess for them it was all about the bigger purpose, because Jeanette, the lady that did it, survived breast cancer at 51. So when she was 64, ran to, I guess, raise awareness on the benefits of a vegan diet to cure cancer. And that was their message. But anyway, I guess it was when I was discovering their story, I thought they were in their 60s. Maybe there's something I can do with this. If they're in their 60s and they can run around Australia, then what can I do at 21? I've run my first marathon. I felt good. Yes, it was hard, but if I can just step away from running fast, making it all about me, and think of the bigger picture, how can I challenge myself while helping others? And then it all just came to me that I decided to jog for Joey. I connected it to my teammate that passed away, and decided then and there that I would run around Australia as well. So that's my plan for 2021.
Wow. So chat to us, I guess, the first 50 and 50. How was that experience? So was that around Australia itself, or was that around Victoria?
Just all around Victoria. So I ran in different places every day. I did a lot of them around home, so around Vermont or eastern suburbs, and then some around the city, around the Tan, down at Rosebud and Geelong and all sorts of different places, just to keep it mentally fresh. Yeah. So
you change it up every day, pretty much.
Yeah, most days. Yeah. There's some courses or some routes that I ran a few times. Yeah. But yeah, changed it up.
Yeah, because I remember following a little bit of that journey on your Instagram. I reckon back a few weeks ago. Sean Bell, Jog for Joey, for guys and girls wanting to follow the journey. But I remember seeing the different paths and routes you were going, and one of the great things was people that were slowly jumping on and joining you in the running and the jogging as you were going. How did that make you feel? And so tell us about how that sort of
it was so special. Honestly, my favourite part of that 50 marathon journey was inspiring people. Every single day I had people running with me. I didn't have a day by myself, which was just amazing, and so grateful for that community support. But it was people coming up to me nearly every day and saying, thanks for what you're doing. I've just achieved my own personal best. And to know that me going out and doing what I was doing gave them that belief that they could take their running to the next level and achieve a personal best for themselves was very special.
It's amazing. Yeah. I remember, as I said, I remember seeing that, and even the media that sort of, I guess, picked up on it a little bit. A few of the channels, interviewing you after you'd done a marathon or during, and I heard about you through a friend of mine, and so I think the word sort of gathered pretty quick. It's spread like wildfire, and those great things deserve all of the attention and praise that they get. I guess my question was, how was the body going into 10, 20, 30 marathons? Was there any time where you was thinking, nah, I've just got to sort of take a day off?
Day 19 was a nightmare for me. I felt really good up to that point, and then I was running down a hill around 25 k's in.
Whereabouts were you?
Around Vermont, so around
Vermont.
home. Sort of hilly area in Vermont, and I was running tearing home down a hill, and I just felt something in my right quad, and it turned out to be a grade 1 tear, like a minor tear, just a grade 1 strain. But normally with a grade 1, you're still told not to do any physical activity for a week or two, and so that was I was able to limp and walk and
Yeah.
run very slowly, but for the rest of that marathon, I almost had to walk the whole thing just to get to the finish. And then the days following were terrible. So having physio, sometimes up to 4 appointments in a day.
Yeah.
A lot of painkillers just to push through. But
Yeah.
I guess I knew my reason why and doing it for Joey and had to just keep pushing.
Yeah. And through that time, I guess parents, siblings, family members, friends, did anyone sort of question at all, to sort of take it easy or slow down if, when you were getting those injuries?
There was definitely people telling me, you sure it's worth it? Like, think about your body long term. And fair enough. Like, they probably are only looking after my best interests. So, but I guess when you want something so bad within your heart, you can find a way. And that's my message now. I'm, proud to be going around schools and talking to kids and inspiring them now. And it's basically, if you want something bad enough, you can achieve it. So chase your dreams now, and we aren't promised tomorrow. I guess
exactly.
that's the example that Joey's death was. It just taught me how precious life is, and that we have to live every day to the fullest. I know everyone talks about that, but actually chasing your dreams, doing what you love, because, anything can happen.
Yeah, all those cliches, they're not cliches for no reason. They're absolutely true. So talk to us a little bit about that role that you're playing at the moment. So different schools, going out, this motivational, inspirational chats, and then the charity and foundation that you're helping out with as well.
Yeah, so it's amazing to be going out to these schools. I've spoken at a few schools so far, and I guess my main message is that what I said before. So chase your dreams now, we're not promised tomorrow, but everything runs off that theme. So number one, I run with the theme of get outside. So number one, literally get outside and be more active. I think, as we all know, the benefits of physical activity and how it'll help. Number two is get outside your comfort zone and take more risks. So really specifying to the kids, I'm not meaning take on risky behaviour, but take on that challenge that scares you, the one that you've dreamed of for a long time, but fears held you back. Because while we all feel like we need to fit in on some level in society, people will give up their dreams to fit in. And so I say, what if chasing a dream now, because we're not promised tomorrow, what if that was more important than fitting in? And so basically...
Well, it's interesting when you say that, I guess. If you chase your dreams and you do pretty well at, achieving them, then people may want to fit in with what you're doing, which is actually really positive, rather than don't fit into something that's going to lower your standards as a person. I guess
just take away from not following your dream, because I guess everyone on different levels and different areas, but everyone's got different goals in life. And I think, it's so easy to just be influenced by other people, not to follow it because you're worried, what other people might think of you. But I guess, my message is that get outside your comfort zone and take those risks, because I talk about that Melbourne Marathon, how I ran it just 3 weeks of training, and said there was people telling me not to do it, that I might not finish it, that I might get injured. But if I didn't take that risk, then I wouldn't be talking to those kids then and there, because that marathon changed my life.
So that was 2017, the Melbourne Marathon. Coming into 2018, so because the 50 and 50 was earlier this year, 2019. So tell us the year of 2018, how was that running-wise for you? Yeah,
it was great. So 2018, I decided that I'm going to focus purely on distance running. So dropped playing footy, told Joey's family of my plan to jog for Joey and run around Australia. And I said that I will run 50 marathons in 50 days starting January next year to show my dedication and commitment to the run around Australia. It needs to be 2021 just because there's so much to organise. As these things take time. But 2018 was very much, I only did 2 proper events. So in May, I ran a 60-kilometre ultra marathon on the Great Ocean Road. And then from June to the end of the year, I was just training for the 50 and 50.
Did you do that with anyone, that 60K?
No, I just ran. No, I didn't know anyone.
Yeah, okay.
Met some people there.
Yeah. Do you like that, solitude at times with running, or would you prefer running sort of in a group with
No,
people
definitely.
come to support?
Yeah,
Or a bit of both.
Definitely need both. Yeah. Again, while I was so amazed with the support that everyone gave me during the 50 days, there was times where I needed to be by myself. And so what I would regularly do is I'd post, say, on Instagram the night before, I'll be at, the tan at 8:30 in the morning, when I might actually have started there at 7 a.m. So I've already run 15 Ks by myself.
Okay.
Because most people, if they want to run a full marathon with you, they'll message me and they'd tell me. But for most people, they probably wouldn't want to run more than half marathon anyway.
Yep.
So it was good. It gave me that time, an hour and a half to 2 hours by myself, and then I can run with people as well.
Okay. That's it's cool. Did you? So if you were running by yourself, was there any? And this might be a stupid question, but was there any times where you sort of did sort of reflect back a little bit and really think about Joey's death, or how much of a tragedy it was and a surprise to everyone? Did you get emotional while you were running?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's when you're running by yourself that those sorts of things come up the most. I thought about Joey every single day.
Yeah.
I had to, because, to put your body through that, you have to always come back to that reason why. And for me, it was Joey. Yes, it was to raise money and awareness for the Compassionate Friends charity, which we'll go into.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was always to honour Joey. And he was, for someone I knew for 9 months, such an amazing friend that I just wanted people to, never forget. And I want his name to be out there for years to come.
It's amazing. And I go back, to what I was sort of saying previously. I guess a lot of us would potentially think about doing something like this for someone that, was a mate for 5, 10, 15 years maybe, or a few years. But it's also, I guess, maybe surprising to a few people that you only knew Joey for 9 months, and how much of an impact he must have had was, remarkable and astonishing. It's you can't, there's no scale to measure it on for you.
Yeah, exactly. He just had the biggest handshake, biggest smile, and just the one guy that everyone wanted to be around. The player that brought, laugh and smile to all the teammates. So I know if I wasn't doing something like this, I'd be surprised if some of my other teammates didn't step up and do it. He's just that sort of bloke that everyone wants to honour and get around. Yeah,
absolutely. Talk to us about the Compassionate
Friends charity.
Compassionate Friends charity. Yeah, talk to us about that.
So the Compassionate Friends charity support parents, siblings and grandparents after a child's passed away. So when I decided that I would jog for Joey, I went to Joe's parents and Joe's brother and sister and told them, so it all became real and it was locked in. And I said, I'd like you to help me choose a charity. To which they said the Compassionate Friends, because the Compassionate Friends have been a real lifesaver for the Moschetti family. They've really helped them in grieving the loss of Joe, and so many other families grieving the loss of their loved one as well. And I guess because there was no cause of Joey's death, it's not like, say it was a heart condition, you could raise money for the Heart Foundation or something like that. Whereas because they still don't know why he passed away, it just makes sense to be the Compassionate Friends charity, the one that's helped the Moschetti family.
Do you think there will be a cause of what happened? Are they still trying hard to figure that all out?
Yeah, they've done like 100 tests. So many tests. I wasn't even exaggerating that number. They'll never know. So it's really sad. But you hear of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. Not so much in adults though. And so there was the thought that maybe it was correlated to that. Yeah. But they just don't know.
It's pretty hits you pretty hard, doesn't it? Hits you pretty hard. I guess going back to some of the mentors that you have had through your journey the last few years, when you've started doing this, would you call it ultra marathon running? Probably the 50 and 50, and then the distance running towards more so the ultra or the marathon, repeated marathon running.
Yeah, definitely. I've had some great support from many people. Probably my biggest support's been Samantha Gash. So she, earlier this year in May, I ran in an 84-kilometre ultra marathon across Bali.
Yep.
So last year, I found out in June that I was accepted for this event. And
So do you have to apply?
Yeah,
for this one, do you?
I had to apply for this one, but it's a lot more than a run. It's to put we raised $165,000 to put 350 disadvantaged Balinese children through 6 years of school, so their entire primary schooling. But yeah, when I was accepted to this run in June last year, the founder of the run said, "All right, everyone collaborate and get to know each other and to add each other on Facebook." And I thought, what an opportunity. I know Samantha's story. So for anyone unfamiliar, Samantha ran 77 marathons in 77 days across India in 2016.
And I ran for about 15 kilometres for one of them.
Oh, there you go.
15 kilometres of one of her 77 kilometre ones. So in 2016, I was lucky enough to jump on board for a day with Sam Gash.
Yeah. So Samantha,
we were talking about that before, that connection. She's a lovely person, does great things within the community too.
Yeah, for sure. And so I guess I just reached out to Samantha, knowing what she'd achieved, and I said, "Can't wait to meet you in May next year in Bali. However, I was wondering if you could give me some advice." Because at the start of next year, start of January, I'm going to be running 50 marathons in 50 days. So I met with her for breakfast, and she was just amazing. Next minute, at the end of that breakfast conversation, she hooked me up with a coach, and the running coach prepared me professionally for the 50 marathons. So, I couldn't have done it without Sam's support.
Wow. And she's had a kid. Did she marry her partner off? Oh, okay, soon to be. Not yet. Okay.
But
off when she was on Survivor. Is that right?
Yeah, Mark Wales.
That's quite amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah, a lovely couple, and Mark was with us in Bali just recently as well.
Yeah, and you're talking about some of the research that you've done online and the different, people you've seen talk, specifically some of the TED Talks, and they obviously talking before, they have a wide range of subjects that they talk about. But one person that has stood out to you, David Goggins. Talk to us about his story and how that, touched you a little bit.
Well, for anyone that doesn't know David Goggins, if you ever need motivation, just look this man up. He's phenomenal, the things he's achieved, but it's all his mindset. David Goggins had a really tough upbringing and has been able to use that, his suffering personally, to inspire others. So just an incredible journey, and I followed his running, and he was a Navy SEAL. He's broken a pull-up 24-hour
so is he
record.
Is he pretty sort of jacked, pretty strong?
He's just
very muscly sort of guy.
Yeah, so he's an American guy, and he was a massive help for me. I always listen to his podcasts, and always definitely puts a bit of fire in the belly, and he's great. But another one that really helped me is the Iron Cowboy. So he's another one from America. He's called the Iron Cowboy because he did 50 Ironmans in 50 days.
Okay.
So and he probably helped me. And one of the most.
For people that don't know an Ironman,
so
what does that entail?
Yeah, so an Ironman is a 3.8 kilometre swim, followed by a 180 kilometre ride, followed by a full marathon, so a 42.2 kilometre.
So you were missing the bike ride
and the swim.
Hey.
And so the Iron Cowboy, on top of that, he did his 50 Ironmans in 50 days in all 50 states of America. So he wasn't even...
Is it 52 states?
Oh, sorry, in 52 states.
52
but
states.
He did in 50 of them.
50, yeah.
And so he wasn't even sleeping in his own bed. He's sleeping in his car while his wife's driving him to the next state to get up and do another Ironman. And
where does he do the swims? The 3.8 in a lake or something?
Yeah, I think it always changed.
And he can measure that on an Apple
I'd say
Watch
on a Garmin,
something
like that.
Yeah, right.
And so for me, he was a massive help because when I was really struggling, like especially after that quad injury, day 19, and I had to remember the reason why I was doing it, but just having that time to myself to listen to him on podcasts and things like that really helped me, because it was a reminder that, yes, this is hard, but I'm not doing a 3.8K swim and I'm not doing a 180K ride. And and I'm going home, eating a big meal and having a good sleep in my own bed, whereas he's sleeping in a moving car. And so I just had to put it into perspective, and knowing what he'd achieved helped me achieve what I did.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sounds like a very interesting guy, and I haven't seen a lot of David Goggins, but I'll have to go home and look into him a little bit. Talk to us about, so you've done your 50 and 50 at the start of 2019, 2018, a really good preparation year, met some really good people, put some building blocks into place. 2019, you're really hitting it hard, getting into these marathons, and you know the support and the momentum's building. Completing that, you know, great. I'm sure your sense of achievement and that. Did you feel a bit of relief as well, and a bit of sort of that anything off your shoulders, sort of that? Joey would be sort of looking down and be proud.
I know I'd be very proud. I didn't really have a sense of relief, just pride. I was very obviously proud and happy with what I'd accomplished, but it was knowing that it was doing for Joey and his family, and them telling me what it meant to them, as well as the Compassionate Friends charity. It's an amazing feeling. Back to sort of what I was saying before with talking to the schools, my last message, so as I said, the get outside is get outside yourself and help other people. And that's a huge one for me, because, you know, while we all have goals and things that we want to accomplish that only matter to us, if you can have a goal that impacts a greater amount of people, one, you're more likely to actually follow through and achieve it, because you're not just thinking about yourself, you're thinking about others. And two, you'll be happier, more fulfilled, prouder when you do, because you know that you've impacted someone else's life and maybe improved their day or their life just that little bit more. And so knowing what it was about and why I did the 50 and 50 gave me a lot of pride.
It's amazing. So after that 50 and 50, as I was getting to, so, you know, this year, how's the rest of the year, the last few months panned out? Obviously, you're running Bali. That was quite recently?
Yeah, so the 50 and 50 finished February 22nd. Yeah. So I ran a marathon every day from January 4 until February 22nd. Yeah. And then after that, I had 12 weeks to prepare for a next challenge, which was the 84-kilometre ultra marathon across Bali. That went amazing. Actually won that race. So.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, you know.
How many people were in that race?
There's 20.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Including Sam.
No, Sam was an ambassador for the run, but she was like support crew.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I think it's amazing how things can come together. You know, I went there to help make a difference to the lives of these kids and just use something that I love with running to make a difference. And in the end was able to win the ultramarathon as well.
Did you get to go to any of those communities in Bali to see the kids that you were helping out? Yeah,
there was one day in particular where we went to 2 different schools, and then the top fundraisers got to go to some of the children's families, into their family home as well. So awesome. Meet the parents and their siblings, and that was amazing. So all through the partnership with Bali Children Foundation.
Is that something that you'd really, I guess, and this is a chat probably for in a few minutes, but something you'd really like to keep exploring, that running, you know, running can be the outback of Australia as well. We're not just talking about overseas, but I guess running for these purposes, and then also seeing, you know, the communities that you're helping as well, going to actually, you know, see the different cultural sides and the different aspects of, you know, humanity in different places of the world. I mean, I'm sure it'd be spine-tingling stuff, not just the running and the physical side of it, but also mentally, you know, gaining, you know, another perspective, you know, about just the way people live, just their conditions, that they are, you know, they're dealt these cards, you know. This is what the dealer gives them, you know. It's not. They're not always. They don't choose necessarily to be in these positions. It's ovarian lottery, seriously.
It was
and
just that.
You probably see that when you're in Bali.
And that one word, perspective. You know, it was incredible to be in Bali, because I guess, you know, everyone can get trapped in their own lives, and Melbourne's so busy. And I went there. I was so excited to be going there, but when I was there and seeing how happy these kids were with so little, when we were in the school, we gave them all a packet of texts, and they were going off like it was amazing. And it just made me think, you give that to a group of Australian kids, they might throw them on the ground. It was just to see,
amazing.
to see how happy they were with so little, just running around kicking a soccer ball in the playground. And it made me think, like, oh, you're an idiot, Sean. There's so many times where, something that I thought was important really wasn't that important at all. And so just that perspective, and when you can run for change and run for something really special and make a difference, it's life-changing to not just the people you're impacting, but also to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's fast forward to the 50 and 50 around Australia. How does that look?
So,
How does that
So the run around Australia is going to be a 9-month journey.
Okay, so that's going to be a bit longer.
Because the whole run around Australia.
Yeah, of course.
So we're thinking it'll be 14,000 kilometres or so.
Wow, okay.
And my goal is to complete it in 8 to 9 months, meaning I'll start January 2021 and leave the Vermont Football Club where I play with Joey, with the plan of getting home around September or October of 2021.
I don't know what I was saying. I was probably thinking you're in the top 5 marathon runners in the world. Maybe they could do 50 marathons in 50 days around Australia, running 2 hours and what is it? 2 hours 3 minutes.
Yeah, they're insane.
Yeah, they haven't broke the 2 hour mark.
No, 2:01, but they'll get there.
What do you average for that marathon if you're sort of at the pace that you're going to maintain
during the 50 or over the run around Australia?
Yeah, so or say for the 50s that you did in Victoria.
So the 50 were slow. They were average 4.5 or 4 hours and 36 minutes, which it's not too slow, but at the same time, my best ever marathon is 3 hours 20. And so it's significantly slower. And that's because if I was to run a 3 hour 20, I couldn't back it up the next day.
What pace would a 3 hour 20 be?
3 hour 20 is about...
HK.
Yeah, I think that's about just under 4:40. 4 minutes, 40 seconds a K.
Okay.
So, but 4 hours 36 average, what I did in the 50 and 50 was mostly I was sort of running 6 minutes 30 a K, 6 minutes 15. So a real jog. And it highlighted that, this isn't about running fast. This is about a jog for Joey, my friend.
Absolutely. What about, I guess, where to now? Is this something that you're going to do every year? Is it something that I guess will just naturally, you'll sort of make decisions as you go? Is it something, a real career path, I guess charity industry and the fitness stuff that you really want to do? Is it just, I guess, something that you'll just see what happens, and you may find something else that you also want to pursue as well as this? Is it, where do you see it sort of fitting in the next few years for you?
Yeah, well, I think you always have to be open. You never know what life's going to throw at you, and 2016, all I wanted to be was a high school teacher, just a PE teacher, and now that's the last thing I want to do. Hopefully, I want to have a career as a motivational speaker. I think it's so amazing what Samantha does and David Goggins and these guys to give inspiration to people out of just a normal human being, but just doing something that means something really, for someone who meant so much to me. And that's the part that I think is so special, to give people, inspiration is life-changing, not just to them but to me as well. And it's definitely, while I'm open to what the future holds, it's definitely the sort of career path I want to head down.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back a little bit. Tony Robbins, when you first, I guess, potentially you're at the crossroads a little bit mentally with what you're sort of wanting to do. You touched on a few things that you remember, but any other sort of stories that you can, I guess, conjure, that you can sort of think about and remember from that sort of, is it a 3 to 5 day?
It's a 4-day seminar.
4-day seminar, because I remember, so for anyone, Tony Robbins, I'm Not Your, is it? I think I'm Not Your Guru. It's on Netflix. So it's on Netflix, and so there would have been a few people that have watched it, but and heard of Tony Robbins, and I guess it is quite a massive industry that it's growing as well, with the amount of, I guess, not issues, but there's a lot of conversation, obviously, mental health, well-being, it all centers around very similar things. And I think what we need to remember is everything does connect. It is a circle of life. There is,
for sure.
there's not necessarily things that are outliers that don't have some direct correlation to something else. And I think that's where we need to keep, understanding that. But, with the well-being, the mental health, physical, fitness and health, and are you actually doing your best to give your physical health and your mental health the best capacity to, prosper? Like, if I guess, thinking about the other day and, different, I guess it's something that, has an effect on everyone. Athletes, in the AFL, even, in my case, and, my workplace, but, around the world, it happens everywhere. But, whether we're giving ourselves the best chance, are we a product of our environment? We certainly are.
Definitely.
How can we make that a better outcome? Can we give ourselves a better chance to condition ourselves to not necessarily overcome, but manage these expectations, manage these
For sure.
things that happen that allow us to get into an anxious state, a stressful state, a depressive state at times, when it can really spiral a little bit. How do we balance these feelings? Because I think a part of it is understanding that I think it's okay. It's really okay to not feel 100%.
Of course.
Like it's part of humanity. It's part of being a human. I think we need to understand that we can't be the perfect smiling people, happy all the time. I think if you're living the full human experience, I think you need to have
real.
all emotions. You
Yeah.
need to be angry. You need to be. You need to. I think this sounds stupid, but I think you need to hurt someone in a way. I'm not saying physically. I'm not. It could be verbally. It could be you could hurt yourself. You need to feel sometimes the depths of the low points in life. You need to feel, geez, I've really stuffed up here, and I know it, and I'm going to own it.
Exactly.
And sometimes you need to accept that your decisions, you believe they can be better. And I think sometimes if we have stuffed up, or we, or other people do things, and we sort of go, and you build your perception around that. We can just stay dug deep in that state for a while, and we can't climb ourselves out of there. We just keep believing this same thing. I think you need to understand that these are just emotions. These are just feelings and thoughts. We can't we can't let them consume the whole holistic person or being that we are individually. It's just part of humanity, and that's very complex. That's pretty deep.
You're right. And I think there's incredible power in vulnerability.
Yeah.
One thing that Samantha talks about in her speech is that, I think it's a quote. It's good leaders are strong, but great leaders are strong and vulnerable, and talks about how everyone's human and we all experience different feelings, different emotions. But it's the person that can show it when they're not having a great day, or when things aren't going to the way they planned. You can be a leader in that moment, because people, are always trying to show, like how everyone talks about Instagram, everyone's trying to show the best perception of themselves.
The highlights,
the highlight reel of their lives. But it's when you can be real and open up and show your vulnerability that you can really, help yourself as well as other people as well.
Yeah, it's quite a mesmerising conversation. You go for days talking about this, I guess. But it's amazing how I think sometimes as individuals within, there's such great resources and accessibility. There's great structure and foundation around this society that we live in Melbourne, in Australia. We're very privileged, but at times we can numb ourselves to the real raw aspects of life. We can alienate ourselves from, I guess, the other things that are happening around the world. We sort of turn our back a little bit. We turn our shoulder. We don't necessarily want to know what's going on in, over the fence. We look at our own backyard and we're pretty content, we're pretty comfortable, we're pretty happy, and I guess because there's so many different individuals, it's hard. I can sit here saying this, and I guess it's easy saying these sort of things when you've had a quite stable upbringing, you've had good friends and family around you, and that's, I can put my hand up and say I've probably had that. It's and for many people in this world, it's not necessarily the same case. So it's an individual, case by case basis. It's not the same shoe fits all at all. And I think that's what we need to remember. I guess you can always try and talk, and hope for the best, and talk really politically correct, and all this sort of stuff. But there are shocking things happening to very good people, raw people, natural people, real organic, lovely people, and if there can be, and there are great things involved and great things in society now that are being built, charities, foundations that are coming together, and through these things that at times can plague us, the mental health and the well-being things. There are great things at our disposal, great resources. So, and this is just, stemming on from, I guess you'd see a lot of that. I'd see a lot of that as young people. How can we keep spreading a really positive message about, and it probably comes back to one word that you said before, and one word that I probably believe I almost hold the strongest to me is perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know why, but when you have perspective, I think your decision making can be at its most clear. It can be at its most authentic and realistic. You're not delusional. You're not. Your head's in the right space, and it's interesting. I think having different experiences. It's not necessarily going travelling, but it can just be, routine's great, structure's great, but how can we also find different experiences within our day to slightly give us a different way of looking at things? I think that's always really strong. Yeah, having a conversation with a totally different person, an absolute random person, could be from a different part of the world. 5 minutes talking to someone like that could just give you a little bit of, some sort of a knowledge or some sort of a key message or aspect that could just slightly adjust you into a different direction that you weren't already going, and that could place you into
definitely
something that's a better place.
Yeah, it can just take one spark, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a moment, whether it's traveling, whatever it is, that's all it can take. And I guess that's why I always do talk about Tony Robbins, because at his seminar there's people from all walks of life, and a lot of people that go there are completely directionless. I said before, I felt like I didn't know where I was going.
Did you meet many people at that seminar
in their 40s, 50s who are still trying to figure out what they're doing, and they're really, struggling with where they're at, and they've had significantly worse things happen to them in their lives, and that have put them in the position that they're in today. And it was just a real wake-up call to me. Again, perspective. I was, I wouldn't say a negative kid, but definitely not the positive, self-driven person that I am today. I used to always be jealous of my mates and, of their upbringings, where they had, rich parents and things like that. And it's like, hang on, you go here, you're meeting people who've had life 1,000 times worse. And it was just, a massive wake-up call.
It's interesting. I think you got to, once you're in a room with a lot of people like that, you got to remember everywhere there's someone that's going to have it better than you, and there's probably someone that's going to have it worse than you. So you're probably not one or the other. You don't have it all, but you don't have nothing.
Yeah,
I think. And probably as a generalisation, that's probably where we can look at ourselves when we live in Australia. There's always someone that's probably going to have it when you look at the relativity and the scale of destruction and tragedy and things that happen in one's life. We're probably not going to have it absolutely rotten, in Australia, but, at the same time, there are going to be better off people, even though, we do it pretty well here in Australia for most of us, but there are still going to be better off people in another part of the world.
For sure.
Maybe your next door neighbour, who knows? But yeah, it's interesting. Like, is there any individual from, say, a Toby Robbins seminar that you sort of learnt a bit more about their story, or any sort of stories that you sort of were shocked by, or anything that you remember specifically that
an individual that I met just talking to?
Yeah, that was at a seminar like that, and sort of, I guess, what their sort of story was like, what they wanted to get out of going to something like that, how they sort of...
Not really, not in particular. But last year I was a crew member for Tony Robbins. So once you've been a participant, you're allowed to go as a volunteer crew member.
Yeah.
So I went to Sydney in September and crewed at his event. And yeah, I had a lovely chat with a guy when I was a crew member there, and he...
So being a crew member, is that just sort of part of his...
So you're part of Tony's team, basically. So yeah, all have different roles. He's got so many people working for him. I'm not kidding. Some of the roles are door greeter. So when people come in the door, you're giving them high fives, and Tony's, providing this super high energy environment for 4 days. So as a crew member, you help bring that. And
is it a bit over the top? Like that?
Yeah, in many ways.
It's a bit heightened.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, it's full on days and nights. You could be up for 12 to 15 hours maybe. He might start at 9 a.m. and finish at midnight, and it's full on days with a couple of breaks. And often after these seminars, people do get sick or just run down because they've never given them so much energy over 4 days. But it's when you're around people like that, it just becomes a new level of intensity. And he often says, like, the product of the 5 people you hang around the most, or who you hang out with, is who you tend to become. And so that's, for me, is a huge one now. I'm very selective on who I do spend time with. I love life, but at the same time, and I'm open to meeting all new people. But I want to know that we're connecting well and we share the same values and things like that. And so I know that when I went to his seminar as a crew member, I'm with 300 other crew members who are like-minded people that have gone there to give up 5 days as a volunteer because Tony's helped them change their lives. So they're now giving back to Tony. We went and we did 5 days of work as crew, sometimes up to 16 hours a day, purely as a volunteer. So you're not earning anything. But you almost don't want to. It's like, this man changed my life. He didn't do the work, but he helped me. He was the initial spark that helped me believe that I could achieve these sorts of things.
Because watching that on Netflix, usually there's, probably a few thousand people in the room.
Yeah.
They get a few individuals up, and then they would talk to Tony, sort of in front of everyone, and chat about sort of what's going on in their life. There's a bit of sitting down. There's probably a bit of listening to.
A lot of hugging strangers.
Yeah. Is that what was that like?
Yeah. Well, when I went in America the first time, it was crazy. Like, as I said, it was actually funny how it came about. Like, my mum took me there because she sort of felt like I needed to go, and she wanted to go for herself. But it was amazing how it worked out. It was like it was almost meant to be. She asked girlfriends to go. She asked my brothers if they wanted to go, and I was the last person she asked. And before I'd even looked up Tony Robbins, I'd never heard of him. I said, "Yeah, Mum, I watched this video. I loved it." And that was really, I just wanted to go to America and go to the NBA and the ice hockey.
Yeah. So did you do that still? Did you still go do a bit of a US
Yeah, I still
tour?
did have a bit of a trip in the US, which was awesome. But so for me, the first day, I'm still learning who this guy is. I was a little bit skeptical. What's with me hugging 50 strangers on day one? It was well and truly out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But as I said, after that night one fire walk, I was a different person and just really embraced the next 3 days.
The firewalk was... So everyone did that on the first night?
You don't have to do it. There's probably a few that don't, but almost everyone does.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially last year when I was a crew member, you see how people are on the first day. You're the door greeter trying to give them all high fives, and they're walking in, they're looking at you like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then day two, there's so much energy, they feel like a different person.
Yeah.
So it's special to be a part of that environment.
It'd be interesting to see how many of them after the few days would carry that out into their normal lives.
Definitely.
Yeah. How do you think
and
that would?
I
I mean,
have
obviously
heard that.
for you, it's been sustainable because you're actually exercising a lot of the messages that Tony would have sort of been talking about, and you've actually sort of actioned a lot of that, whereas people probably, whether they get lazy with some of those little habits and they don't sort of
it's
take
hard.
that into their next...
You come back into an environment, whether it be with family members or friends that weren't there, and it's a completely different environment. Like you'll see when you watch the Netflix documentary, it's over the 4 days, it's full on. And yes, it's life-changing, but it is hard to carry through in everyday life. And you do forget what it's like to live at that level of intensity. And so for a lot of people, and I have met people that haven't, carried it through as such, but there's definitely still aspects that they've carried through, or they've met people and they've become friends, and it's still had an impact in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. So what your... I asked this a bit before, but your parents and friends and family, are they... So obviously they're right behind you with the running stuff. Do you have any sort of that are asking to help you out with the sort of speech stuff, the motivational talking stuff, or is that mainly just yourself and
Yeah, no, I've definitely spoken it to family members, and I haven't to friends yet, but even some school teachers, just practicing. I want to get their feedback. They'll definitely help me grow as a speaker and as a person. So definitely will take it on board.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's probably not much more to chat about, but it's great. Like the whole story for the cause that you're doing it for is remarkable, and someone of your caliber. It's great to see young people like yourself wanting to, I guess, getting so much joy and love out of opening yourself up to other people, not necessarily going for something just for yourself. I guess it's great to see, and something that I can take away, personally, listening to you, to keep trying to help everyone else, others around me, not necessarily pleasing everyone else around me, but from what I can do and what I feel is right to help more people.
I think
I guess you'll probably find that, and so will I. So will a lot of
and
there
are so many ways to make a difference. You don't have to run 50 marathons in 50 days. You can just smile at people and compliment strangers. And I know that sounds a bit strange, but that's going to give them so much happiness, and you as well. And so there's little things that you can do that can definitely help make a difference, and they don't have to be these massive tasks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess you've had great mentors and people that have given you those little things along the way, little messages, and to help. And as you said, they don't have to be. Not everyone can probably run 50 marathons in 50 days, and but it's through their personality and little things that they can do and what their strengths are, what they're good at for other people. Because I think at the end of the day, everyone says it, but it's completely true. You do get the most joy and natural joy out of something that you have done, seeing someone else smile or have laughter or be really happy from something that you've contributed to.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's because you can do all the things in the world for yourself, and you'd probably feel pretty good about yourself, but if you got no one to share that with, it's, I don't know.
It's definitely...
You wouldn't want to feel that too much, I don't think.
No. Yeah, and as I keep coming back to how Joey's death taught me how precious life is and family and friends are. I think we can all get swept up in everyday lives and being so busy and not putting the time aside for that. But we aren't promised tomorrow, and you really need to be around the people you love. And it was just such a wake-up call for me and so many of his mates, and I'm sure family and friends as well. So just a huge impact, a tragic loss of a loved one, but it's helped me change the direction of my life. And while I wish I was running for someone else or a different cause and Joey was still with us, I'm glad that I can honour him in such a special way.
Well, it's been a privilege talking to you. I'm sure that'll be one of the better listens this year. That was great to chat to you and get under the surface a little bit, go to the depths of conversation, really talk about some of those great things that you're doing and what we all want to try and be striving for in the future in our own lives. So Sean Bell, appreciate the chat, mate. Great to chat to you on Millennial Movement Boardroom. Ladies and gentlemen, over and out.